Well, Israeli forces continued battling Hezbollah at close range in southern Lebanon today, with Israel losing at least 8 soldiers since the combat began in Lebanon about 48 hours ago. Now, this comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu considers Israel's response to the barrage of missiles that Iran fired on his nation yesterday. Now, President Biden said he does not support an attack by Israel against Iranian nuclear sites, claiming he wants Israel to respond in proportion. Joining me now to discuss the latest is Congressman Keith Self. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Veterans Affairs Committee. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. He's retired from the United States Army and actually served with the IDF. Congressman Self, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be here, Tony. Thank you.
So let me ask you this question. When you have a nation that is firing ballistic missiles, just under 200 ballistic missiles at civilian populations, I saw, a friend of mine sent me video of the missiles being intercepted over Tel Aviv. What's proportional in your response?
I'm not sure that the Israelis, Bibi personally, is going to use that word. Proportional is he is serious about this. He is going to take care of the near-term threats in southern Lebanon now, move the Hezbollah infrastructure north of the Litani River at least. But when we turn our attention to Iran, I think there are 3 possible targets: launch sites, the nuclear sites that you talked about, or the oil infrastructure. I do not believe he will start with the nuclear sites. I think he will try to degrade their launch sites as much as he can, realizing they have mobile launchers, and he may take out some of their oil production. That's my opinion. I think that one of those 2 will be the target, and it will be significant.
There's a window here. I think that he has to do this. Iran, we're constantly hearing these reports. They're now latest a week from breaking out with having the capability of delivering nuclear, military-grade nuclear weapons. Is this a narrow window for Israel to take out this constant threat that they've been facing from Iran?
It could be, but we don't know that. I suspect that Israel knows far better than we do exactly where Iran is in that calculation. And if they make the decision that it is in their national interest to go after the nuclear sites, they certainly will. Several months ago, they took out the EW warning sites at one of the nuclear sites, but they've not bothered to go after them since then. But that's up to the Israelis, and frankly, I think their intel is probably better than ours.
Oh, no question. There's no question about that. Congressman Keith Self, has the Biden administration released all of the military funding that Congress has appropriated for Israel?
They haven't released the funding in terms of weapons systems. They have been slow rolling their support for Israel ever since the October 7th attack. Look, the State Department is historically and traditionally anti-Semitic. We're seeing that play out in the Biden government today. They've been slow rolling support. I had a letter today that 5 of my colleagues joined with me telling President Biden to release the supplies that we have approved as Congress, that we've appropriated, and also to start enforcing the sanctions on Iran. Because if you remember, Tony, Iran was broke when Trump left office. They now have almost $100 billion in reserves. So those 2 things we demanded of President Biden today, 6 of members of Congress, and we're going to see what his response is, but we must stand with them against the primary sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East.
I mean, maybe I've missed it, but most of his limiting language is focused on Israel.
Oh, absolutely. That is very clear that they are not supporting Israel as the U.S. has traditionally done. I believe that we need to break loose the supply, because if Iran and Israel do go to major fisticuffs, a major war, they're going to need our support, and they're going to need it now. Now, they've got a great suite of air defense systems, Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow, and they're doing a magnificent job. But if you go to a major regional war, it's going to require more and that's up to us.
You brought that up. I've got a graphic of the Israeli defense missile system, the Arrow 3, Arrow 2, the Iron Dome. I've actually personally seen that in operation when I've been there during one occasion a few years back. David Sling, but this is very expensive. An Arrow, the Arrow 2 missiles, the defensive missile system, those are $3.5 million each. The David Sling is about $1 million. Iron Dome about $100,000. Is any of that being held up from going to Israel?
I don't know specifically. I know that we deployed some of our Iron Dome rounds to Israel, so I don't know the specifics on that. I think that our supplies are the more mundane military supplies because those are Israeli products. It may be production of the actual rounds, but I've not seen that in writing, so I can't answer your question. But the point is, they're also involved in the near combat in Lebanon. They're still cleaning up Gaza, and now they have a law enforcement action in West Bank, and they still have Houthis firing rockets at them from Yemen. So I believe, and that's the reason I think they'll go after the launcher sites and maybe the oil production, is the nuclear, and again, their intel on nuclear is important. But what they're trying to do now is to take care of the threats around them, the immediate threats in their neighborhood.
Right. Last question. One of the items they were holding up, the Biden administration was holding up, was the 2,000-pound bombs, the bunker-busting bombs. Is that still being withheld? Because that obviously is very important if they go deep into Iran, into Tehran.
Well, I don't know if they're still holding them up because you might have read they put like 80 of those on top of Nasrallah, and they dug that hole deep to go get him. If they're using them 80 at a time to get one of the leaders, they're going to use them up faster, and we're going to have to resupply them. So I will tell you their usage just in that one action was dramatic. Putting 80 in one hole, to me, I've never heard that number. So they're going to need to resupply and quickly if they're going to start using those things against the leaders. And frankly, I believe the Ayatollah is probably in a bunker somewhere waiting his turn.
Yeah, he's like a groundhog, I would imagine. All right, Keith Self, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony.